here we have a custom made roller skate. I'm going to break it down, take it all apart, and show you how all the different pieces work and basically what they do. So I guess the most important thing on a roller skate are the wheels. They're what make us roll around. I'm going to take that off. So first thing I'll do is use my wide tool to go in here and remove the wheel nut. You'll see there it comes out. That then allows the wheel to come off. This one as well. Okay. And I'll just go ahead and take all of these ones off. Cool. Just putting the skate aside for a moment, we're going to talk more about the wheel. So inside the wheel, we have the hub, and contained within the hub are the bearings. The bearings are what allow the wheel to actually rotate. So you see if I place the bearing tool inside, it spins on the bearing. I'm going to remove these to show you what they look like. I'll go ahead and do the other one as well. Pushing in, it puts those little pins in, and pulling it out. Okay. You can see these parts move like so. You can even hear that one. I think that these are pretty clean bearings. It's important to always make sure your bearings are clean. I'm going to just take the dust cover off of this first bearing. Sometimes that can be really tricky to take off. Okay, we've got it to pop up there. Alright. Inside the bearing, you will see a series of ball bearings in a little case, creating that rolling. Listen to that. Okay. And push that dust shield back on, and that keeps out most of the muck from your bearings. But over time, they'll gather dirt and dust and grease. So you want to make sure that they're clean. To put a bearing back in a wheel using the tool, go ahead, pop it in the gap, and then just push down until it clicks. Again, should be able to spin. Other side. Great. 4 wheels, 4 wheel nuts. Next, easy to remove part of the skate is the toe stop. Now this doesn't actually have a nut on it at the moment, so I am going to go ahead and put one on there so you can see how to tighten a toe stop. Okay. Here is a nut to go over the toe stop. And this will actually allow it to tighten onto the rest of the roller skate. I'm just going to tighten that up. Now, it comes down to personal preference where to have toe stops. I've heard it said that people often like to have the tube width finger between the ground and the roller skate. Just trying to screw that back in there. Okay, now by tightening this, I can fasten the toe stop on. It's important to make sure they're very strong for when you skate so that it won't unscrew while you're rolling. Okay, I'm just going to take that one back off again. There we go. Now we get into the design of the plate. The plate is what we call the piece of metal or sometimes plastic that goes underneath the boot and keeps our wheels in line and allows us to lean from side to side and corner. So the different parts of the plate can be seen here. We have the truck, which is this sort of T-shape there, and on the trucks is where we actually put the wheels. The wheels go over the axles and then the wheel nuts tighten back on. Then we have inside here a kingpin, which is essentially a long bolt that goes through and that all these parts actually fasten onto. So the top here is simply a nut that keeps them all in place. Now, the more you loosen these, the more your truck will begin to turn. You can see there's a little bit of movement in it, jiggling a little bit. As I loosen this, it's going to create more space and they're going to begin to move more. See now that's actually very, very loose and the axle or the truck has a lot of movement in it. I'm going to go ahead and take that off completely. Okay, it goes down. Now, contained in here we have the cushions. So this is the top cushion and it's made of a sort of rubber material, and essentially what happens is when you lean from side to side with your axles, the rubber compresses on one side or another, which makes your wheels go closer to each other on whichever side you're leaning, and you turn in that direction. Different types of cushions have different ratings, different softnesses or hardnesses, and the softer it is, generally the more responsive your turning will be. So it's important to play around with different types of cushions or just different tightnesses of them. So if I have that back on there, the tighter I have this clamped down, the harder the rubber is compressed and the less likely it is to turn. Okay, now removing the truck. You'll see down here this long part, just remove that first. This long part goes into what we call the pivot cup, and this part of the truck is the pivot. So it goes in, and the pivot inserts into the pivot cup, and that gives the truck that sideways movement that I've been talking about. You see there that will come out. And without that pivot cup, it just rattles. So it's important to have this inside, pivot in it, and then we can get good movement. Now, lastly is the kingpin, as I mentioned earlier. You see everything bolts onto that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the cushions back on. Pivot cup. Truck goes back on. You'll see that there is actually a groove cut here to fit over the cushion. And it goes. Last cushion there. Clip that on. I think I actually have that the wrong way around. There we go. So loosening and tightening these nuts will determine how easily the skates corner from left to right. Play around with it until you find where you're comfortable. As you become more experienced, you'll find that you want a looser truck just so that you can corner better. Here's the finished skate. Thanks for watching. Feel free to ask any questions.